to get money in my bank account. Could have done that 5 years ago, Laura, by the way. That would have been better for me. But they oversee, and I'm going to miss some things, but I'm going to do my best off memory. I mean, they oversee the independent sales force compensation plans and scorecarding for all of this, the acute sales force compensation plans and scorecarding, the community health centers who we support in this rooms, compensation and scorecarding, the solution business, MTM Outcomes out in Iowa, Kinray now, although I know that there's some questions out there as we slowly try to integrate that one, right, Dan? Never a dull moment for questions on the sales plan coming to this small group of people who do yeoman's work and have for many, many years in designing effective compensation plans, but what I'm most proud of and can attest to as an end user of their programs, executed very well compensation plans for the sales force at the day. Firm but fair. Anything I'm missing there in terms of what else you guys run? Did I cover it all pretty well? No, well, welcome to the team. Oh boy, there she is. Teresa Ioannidis and team in the Contracting Center of Excellence, a team that used to report through this organization years ago, and now as Jim says, they keep coming back, right Jim? We're not sure why. So anybody on this team, please stand up. And I'm going to ask you to stay standing. Welcome back, Aaron. And it's not fair to just single out certain efforts, but I would really say, and again, a team that's undersold their highlights. I mean, new contracting tool, Aptis. I got the pleasure of taking on this responsibility with about a month left to go, and I just kept saying nice things to Teresa, and she got through it, and I think we're successfully, for all intents and purposes, integrated. Yeah, they feel a little more confident. Yes. Come on, that's a huge accomplishment. I mean, that standardizes, or you guys can sit down, I won't make you stand all day, I'm sorry. I mean, it did mess up PVA Pari, as I saw this weekend, but we'll be okay with that. I mean, I'm really proud of this organization. I've known Teresa for years. Teresa, what am I? Exhausting. I'm exhausting, that's what she told me. Now I said, now you work for me, you just wait. At the end of the day, that was a monstrous integration into that system. They handled it with just the utmost class that I could imagine, not to go without a lot of stressful moments through that, and it was done pretty much flawlessly at the end of the day. So very proud of this team. Not to lose sight on the people who actually work on RFPs for us at the end of the day. And they do that across national markets, alternate care, if it's large enough independent, any of the requests for proposals that we get, might have a new one coming their way not too far from now, potentially. That's interesting. And the team that also supports down in Houston, if I have that correct, the solutions business. So welcome to the team, or back to the team, I guess, right? Sales automation and WindWatcher. How many people are here today, I see that work in the WindWatcher department? You can stand up. I'm not trying to embarrass you. Well, welcome to the team. I want to welcome you guys as well. So for those of you who don't know Steve, he lives down in the Texas area and is more than likely online. And they have a mobile application, which again was, again, I wish I would have had that when I was in the field, but that's fantastic. The new AAP calculator, so AAP is the largest retail independent buying group, for those of you who don't know, for Steve Lawrence's class of trade, ton of generics, ton of sales, and how the new deal compares to the older deal, as well as how they can get more generics, which is what a lot of our profitability is about, is what this team works on. Salesforce automation from pipeline management to market territory size, to sales compensation, to compensation exceptions, to a variety of other things run. I'm way oversimplifying this tool, not to mention probably being, well, a lot of us are, but I can say these guys really have been the PMOD 2's best friends over the last couple of months as we look towards Salesforce.com. And the good news is, what I didn't know is Dan Anello is married to Lisa Regret, which I did not know, so nothing like having leverage over the PMOD team now. Just joking, Dan, who's not here. But that one was an interesting that caught me off guard the other day. So welcome to you guys. All right, now to some of the older crowd. And I'm going to make everybody stand up because they don't know you guys either, just because you're not new. So Angie Bechtel and team. Don't be shy. Oh, vote. And you guys can sit back down. I'm sorry, I want to make sure everybody knows who you guys are. So Angie, Megan, Ryan, and their teams, well, Ryan's team is much more remote than Megan's team, has gone through, and you can read the amount of change they've just been in this year. I'm actually going to call out one special point. Actually, one of the things that I'll come to in a little bit is the sharing of talent across these two organizations, I think is a benefit. And Andrea, I'm not going to single you out and make you stand up one by one, and I can't see it, but Andrea, oh, there she is in the back, just came from the COE over to this department. So there's a first step of one person that she's waving in the back, coming across. But this team has been through a lot of change over the last 3 years under Angie's leadership, and Ryan's leadership as well. I think of, bouncing all over the place here. I think of some of the things Ryan's team's accomplished from, the CVS GLC process from days and days to minutes is just fantastic, as well as the day in, day out activities of ensuring our accounts are set up, ensuring that they are set up correctly, they're audited appropriately, being that front line of entry, transitioning into a pod structure, which other classes of trade are now looking at to see if they can emulate. Is a fantastic testament to the things that they've done and leaned out. And as Jim sort of said, as we get lean and mean, Jim always says, a testament to figuring out how to do things better with less resources and higher quality at the end of the day, which is sometimes very overlooked in this organization. So thank you for staying, Megan. Oh, brother. All right. The National Markets Acute team, who most of the people in the field up here, except for some of the leadership groups. So Jessica, Jen's teams, Kathleen in the room, stand please. Sorry, I'm not going to have to say stand every time. Jessica's way in the back. There's Kathleen. No Eric today. Well, thank you guys. So, you guys just got to, for those of you who attended the huddle yesterday, I think they did a very nice job for what I was in the room for, being able to show what the value that they provide to the, Brian Ellis's organization, who couldn't be here today. I don't think he's not come, has he? Okay. Brian and Bill's organization. And this is a group of people that handle the, acute class of trade. I mean, what are they at now? 25 billion-ish or something like that. Between the shared resources under Kathleen's leadership, the split dedicated resources, management under Eric and Emily in the field, who's not here today, across the nation, and Jen leading the CCG resources, as well as the Mayo/Captus resources, as well as some unique relationships within where we don't necessarily have somebody to represent the account because it's a national account, so that's why it fits into our world. They take care of Brian Ellis's people day in and day out. Tough conversations going on in that class of trade through the organizational structural changes that have been made at this point, about a year and a half ago, and continue to support that group of people. So thank you to them. Vita, of course, couldn't be here today, but who is here on the account management for alternate care and community health centers? Sarah's in the back, Aaron's over there, Pam's here today, Lisa's on vacation. Thank you for saying, yeah, thanks, Chris. So, Lisa couldn't be here today. Pam is here. Of course, Vita, as you all know, is doing great, by the way. On leave, won't be here for us this year. But what a year I think that she's been through to see how far she's come health-wise, which is the most important thing, guys. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. To have Lisa in a structure today, it looks like a little bit outdated slide. Apologies, Nick. At the end of the day, Lisa leads the alternate care team, supports Brad Cochran's organization for the people in the field. These are large nationals in the alternate care or closed-door pharmacy space, for those of you who don't know, which is a growing market class of trade with us, which is in my mind, is very, very similar to the acute class of trade. I think a model for how they should structure. And of course, the CHC team, which has been through a variety of different changes this year, with the sales team running under the leadership of Brad Cochran, but Angela Perry ultimately at the end of the day. While they're not represented from a selling perspective in this room here today, the account management organization led by Pam, which I know there's a laundry list of things down the right-hand side. I mean, that changeover did not come without risk, and not only did Angela Perry, but Pam lead that and lead the teams through with style, dignity, class, keep the customer satisfied, and take it to new heights. So great job and awesome work by that team in FY18. I don't think Jay's here because he gets to work on Optum. Jay, did you make it yet? No. Anybody from the mail order team even here? Lisa is. Anthony is. Molly is. So Jay's team leads the mail order space, which of course everybody thinks of them for the most part as Optum, but is I think the team that could stand up and tell you there's many more customers than just Optum, regardless of who they buy. They haven't bought them all yet, right? But at the end of the day, very complex, very challenging classic grade. Jay is currently working on the integration of the Genoa business, which we have, and trying to get that turned over in a, him and Chris working on turning that over in what we hope would be 30 days and turned out to be, which this team always rises to the occasion. They got 5 days, so, but they're back hard at the office working to see that integration over. I'm almost out of slides here. Lastly, although it's an aggregation, is the retail, national, and regional chains led by Teresa, Susan, who's not here, and Ashley. I know Ashley is here. Can't miss Ashley. If we work on this team. Hey, Betsy in the back. So this is traditional, retail. I think last year was a landmark year for this group across, and really was a lot of the tailwinds behind the success back in FY18. If you look at the onboarding of Ahold, Giant Eagle, new business, so we usually just gloss right over a Titanic customer called Target that we brought on. The operations team to have centralized CSAS is something that I think we've been talking about for Jim way before me, but I mean, God bless, you've probably been hearing that for how many years? 25 of them. From even still having the ability during some tough market conditions with customer consolidation, I look at, what Mike's done with the leader program through Kmart, and that's a rather profitable thing for us. And even as Fred's looks to be getting sort of gobbled up right now, at the end of the day, they're still our customer, and we still treat them with the high-touch service model that differentiates us in the marketplace, excuse me. I think that's it. All right, so before I do that, hold on. I'm going to come back. As I was going through this here today, I also wanted to say, while they don't, report up through the account management or sales operations organizations, there are 2 other groups in the room that I thought that we should recognize and make sure everybody knows. So I'm looking at the state government sales team and the state government support team. So I'm going to ask the state government team to stand up. There's Holly in the back. So Wendy isn't here with us today. For those of you, and I know there's no visual here for this, but I didn't want to lose sight on the state government team, where I'm not that close to it and probably couldn't do justice of everything you guys accomplished this year, because as you can see, I've been busy. But at the end of the day, very large customer, mostly MCAP, individual state governments, very profitable customer base, highly complex, and definitely making headwinds and getting back some of the business that I know they want to get back. I consistently hear from Wendy on Monday mornings when we speak about the good things they have going on in their pipeline, and their never-ending, tireless chase after the state of California, which Alex laughs over there. And Ohio. Jim wants Ohio back too. He's getting tired of that one. And then there's one last group that I don't think that this would be possible without, and I want to thank, and it is the actual, and I'm going to tell them to stand up despite being embarrassed probably. The sales team at the end of the day. That's Jim. And Jim Combs in the back. Andy, Chris, and Jim, and I guess Craig, is he still on vacation? Yeah, so Craig Corwin, who's not here. So, for the people that report up through Jim's structure, we wouldn't be here at the end of the day without obviously having customers that we have contracts with that will buy from us across a lot of those. And I would say, while not here, and for those of you who work a lot with me, I spend a ton of time with Steve. This is like miniature Steve's home away from home right here. So, and Brian's, to be honest. I spent a lot of time with Bill Hayden and Steve Lawrence and those selling organizations while not here and formally represented. They couldn't be successful without what everybody in this room does all day, and we couldn't be successful without what they do all day in the field, working with the customers, selling new business, keeping the business that we have, which, as we all know, renewing customers is the number one thing for this team to get done, because you don't want to lose the business that you ultimately have at the end of the day. It's your most strategic customers. How'd I do on time, Ashley? All right. I think we're together now, Jim, correct? Come on up, Jim.
Am I mic'd?
You're mic'd back up.
So I would also like to thank Andrew. Can we give Andrew a round of applause? I am very blessed and fortunate to have a very unique structure within Cardinal Health in that virtually all of my management responsibility I have given to and delegated to Andrew. And so, and you know, it's like I tell Andrew and I tell Debbie, and I used to tell John, you know, what I love to do is sell. You know, I love working on, as Andrew says, you can always tell when I'm, you know, working on a big deal because I'm in a good mood. So when I'm really in the heat of negotiating a big deal or working on a big customer situation, that's where I thrive. And so Andrew's done a great job of stepping in and making sure that everything runs really well. So I appreciate that. But one of the things that we wanted to talk about, and this list may look familiar to you. And so I know I see Ashley shaking her head, yes. You've heard Mike and Jorge talk a lot this year about it's not business as usual. A lot of that relates to what I talked about earlier, in that there's a lot of things going on in the marketplace right now, and it's challenging us, and we're trying to figure out some solutions to these things. So it's not business as usual. But the list that we have up here is very similar in concept to the list that Mike has put out there that he feels is important for Cardinal Health right now in an environment where it's not business as usual. The interesting thing about this list is it was put together by many people that are in this room 3 years ago. And it's a list that we spent a lot of time focused on back in FY17 when we were trying to figure out, you know, what were we going to do to really set national markets apart and to help Cardinal Health going forward. Just like Mike uses speed, grit, lost in the team as his 3, you know, things that he focuses on every year, and he's been talking about those for 10 years. I felt that I wanted to be consistent with these things because I can't think of anything else I'd want to take off this list and put on this list as we think about priorities for FY19. So if you think about what we need to do in order to get back, you know, into that period of going up the mountain, we need to make sure that we hit our numbers. And so the number one item that I always have on my list, and I've always had on my list, is FY19 financials. As I mentioned earlier, right now, 1 quarter in, we've still had 3 quarters, so heavy lifting to do yet. But 1 quarter in, they're on target. We want to exceed them if possible. We have a really, really good track record in national markets of exceeding our targets. And so we're going to try and do that again. But never lose sight of looking forward, looking to the future, FY20 and 21. We need to start, you know, laying the groundwork. Okay, what does 20 and 21 look like? Believe it or not, in like 3 months, we're going to be budgeting for FY20. It's almost hard to believe, but we're getting to that point where we're going to start thinking about FY20. So the first thing I would mention is we need to hit our numbers. That's my commitment to the organization, that we'll hit our numbers. They are really big numbers if you look at what we're responsible for from a financial perspective. But as Andrew points out to me, this team, in addition to just delivering the financial numbers that the national markets team has to deliver, which is, you know, $60 to $70 billion of top-line revenue. This group that is not necessarily directly in the national account space, you guys have to make sure that we're taking care of all the other customers that make up the other, you know, $25 to $30 billion of PD's volume. So it's an important task for all of us to make sure that we're hitting our financial targets. Andrew, do you want to talk a little bit about number 2, because I think that's really your bailiwick.
Yeah. Bailiwick, I like that word. Word wealth. I forgot something, and I'm going to back up before I get there. I'm going to embarrass her. Renee DeCerbo. That's the one person who wasn't named. There she is. So she is the loan manager that, and I didn't want to leave her out. I mean, the speed to impact that she's brought to the ISF, a variety of things, Renee, I could go on, but just the immediate results of the gatekeeper process you brought. I mean, you know, I shared with Ashley the results of the feedback from Mike McMahon and team. I mean, instant completion to something they've been asking for 7 months, done in like 3 weeks. Fantastic. Thank you, Renee. So as I was standing there, I'm like, I'm sorry, Renee. I know he said it's okay. So what's my bailiwick, Jim?
Excellence.
Oh,
Excellence.
oh boy. Oh, brother. It's a low bar. So continuing pursuing excellence. So this one, you know, I was talking to Angie Bechtel today, and I think we have some more conversations in a good way, right, Angie? But it's our identity, I think, in this room. For those of you from 3 years ago, you know, Jim and I had some interesting meetings in John's office quite a few times early in my tenure in this role. I mean, how short people's memories can be, but it wasn't that long ago that I don't think Jim and I could keep ourselves out of John's office, and, you know, and walking in there with a significant pricing issue that would not only cost the company, and when you're talking about number one, pricely, you know, to hit our targets, I mean, to be able to not have pricing errors that lead to paying customers back, and these are things we don't budget for, and these numbers were very sizable. I mean, we're not talking about like 20 or 30 bucks here. I mean, we're talking about tens and millions of dollars in unplanned loss to the company to have been on now. And Jim, you want to knock on wood, or should I knock on wood? Knock on wood, Jim, because I know you need to knock on something when I say
plaster.
To be at like, what are we at now? 9 quarters without a significant financial penalty is something that, you know, Jim just challenged me to get 1 quarter under my belt, I remember. So we can knock on wood, but I think that's a fantastic achievement at the end of the day. I think there's some areas that I'd still like to bring that to, but we can't rest on this one. This is our identity. Jim's number 2 thing behind bringing in the financial targets. I agree with it. I'm aligned with it. I think it's a year we get back to the basics and ensure that we have that tightened down. But what I wanted to say before I turn it back to Jim for cost conscious would be, not only do you lose money there, but the trust that we lose with our customers is just the thing that I don't think that you can put a price tag on at the end of the day. I mean, I don't want to just always think about CVS, but just the way the conversations have turned from my first time I went to a QBR, I haven't been to one in a little bit, but to where they are today, but also just across our customer base. I think we could all think about how painful it was to have to go to a customer because they lose that trust and that you're trying to be their partner during tough times. And I think having this right builds confidence in our customer base, and it's recognized at shows like NACDS and places where Jim, Debbie, Mike Kaufman will see customers, Chris sees customers, and it's a really, you know, I get a little bit, I want to say choked up because I don't know if I do that, but at the end of the day, definitely reminiscing about the hard work that it went into. We can't take our foot off the gas, but it's critical.
Thank you. And keep in mind, this is also on Mike's priorities for the year in terms of his top priorities. That's why, as you go through the list, you'll understand why I didn't feel the need to really change it, because I do believe it's right on target with what Mike and Jorge want us to be doing, and it goes even beyond that. The next one is one cost conscious. We, as business people, we always have to be cost conscious, particularly in a business like pharmaceutical distribution. It's a very tiny margin business, and that's there's no room for error. Pricing errors is the thing, one of the things we're responsible for. But just managing costs for a business is a discipline that everybody needs to have, and we're really good at it at Cardinal Health. You've seen some of the actions that have been taken this year, as painful as they are. That's part of business. And then you've probably heard a lot of discussion around the ZBM or ZBB that's going to be taking place over the next few months. The zero-based mindset, the zero-based budgeting. I'm not exactly sure how that's all going to roll out. Andrew's had a little bit more exposure to it than I did, but it's like taking what we've done even one step further around really evaluating our business to make sure we're running as cost effectively as we can. The thing that I was really proud of, that as we went through this last kind of reduction here over this summer, that we really weren't impacted much in my group. And there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is, for the last 2 years, this has been our list, right? And cost conscious and SG&A management has been a discipline that this group has had. And so we had already been managing to extremely efficient levels of headcount and cost management and bringing on new business. And so it helps to bring on a Giant Eagle and a Target and a Hometown and everybody we brought on over the last year and not have added a headcount. And so we were able to get through this in pretty good shape. And so I think all of us need to continue to remember being cost conscious is important. And that includes, Chris, you've got to have the itemized receipt when you have breakfast at the airport, okay? That's should I tell the story should I tell the story about the cheese sandwich? I'll just tell you a quick story about the cheese sandwich. Everybody knows I go down and work out at lunchtime. The person might be in here, so I don't want to embarrass them, but I'm going to. So I was standing there getting dressed, getting ready to go back up to the office, and I heard, because now we have to keep itemized receipts for everything. If you buy a pencil, you better have an itemized receipt for it. And I heard that one young man saying to another young man in the locker room, man, I had like a $31 bill for a lunch when I was traveling. I didn't have the itemized receipt. This is a real pain. And they said, well, why didn't you keep an itemized receipt? And he goes, well, I didn't want my boss to see that I had 5 beers and a cheese sandwich for lunch. And I thought, that's probably why we had the itemized receipts. But anyways, I thought that was funny. So the
You want me to take the
things I
the next one's yours. You got to go.
Have a nose for money. I'm sorry. Have a nose for money. This is something, for those of you who haven't heard it, a lot of you have heard it, but for those of you who haven't heard, having a nose for money simply means when we were back in the old buy and hold days, back in the, when we were buying and trading product in the open market, this is kind of a saying that Mike Kaufman, myself, Sid Geller, all the guys that were doing this back then came up with, which basically means always be thinking of a way to make more money doing what we're doing. And for us in this room, salespeople think about it a lot, but all of you can be thinking about it. I don't care if you're in retail independent or in state government or community health center or wherever you are. How do we sell more source sales? How do we come up with new business? That may be solutions, that may be, anytime you're talking to a customer, you're selling. Retail, retaining, that should be retaining. Retaining current customers, driving creativity. This is important for all of us to think about how do we sell more stuff to our customers and make more money. Have a nose for money. Andrew, you want to talk about number 5?
Help customers in this difficult time. I was hoping you were going to do that one, but okay, I can do that one. No, I'm just joking. I mean, you have listed there telefarm, source sales, managed care connection, consumer. Oh boy. It goes more than just that, helping customers in difficult times. Our customers, as Jim talks about, every single one of our customers could take, at the beginning of the presentation today, Jim had pulled off the Google machine, that picture of the mountains and the troughs. But every single one of our customers in every single one of the classes of trade would be able to put that exact speech up in front of us today, at least in pharmaceutical distribution, and I would even echo or say probably in pharma in general. I can't speak as much to medical. But at the end of the day, some of the headwinds that we're facing now, and I think you guys have heard a lot about that. I mean, it is important to remember, and I think Jim's reason to believe was well said, because it's industry challenges we're facing right now. It's not just wholesaler or Cardinal Health issues. It doesn't make it any less challenging as you're going through it necessarily, but it's important to note that we're in an industry-wide phenomenon right now where a lot of people are trying to figure it out. And I think during tough times, our customers rely on things, and our sales teams honestly too, because I don't want to lose sight of that, they have to rely on that the things they need to support them to be successfully selling or to ensure that their customer experience is at top-notch quality is critical today. Not to mention finding new and creative ways like are listed here, which are always the headlines of the things that we do at Cardinal Health in many ways, but our customers couldn't be successful without, and I know service levels have a good challenge, but somebody to help them manage through service level challenges, industry back orders, compensation plans, actually having an account number to order from. I'm looking at Alan now, I'm sorry to pick out things it's hard not to set a Giant Eagle account up because they gave us all sorts of lead time one day. But have that done for them. And I could go around the room, I guarantee you, and pick out a variety of things that I wouldn't do it fair justice. So our customers are looking to us in difficult times, and it's not just solutions or it's not just product. It's actually navigating the complexity of pharmaceutical distribution, which we take for granted around here way too much. It's very complex across the board in a variety of ways of everybody that sits in this room or is on the phone. Do you want to do develop talent and achieve results?
That's yours. You want to give it over to somebody?
I was looking forward to hear what you had to say.
You want to give it to somebody on the up committee to talk about?
We could do that. Any volunteers?
Somebody from the up committee want to talk about developing talent? Or we can have Andrew keep talking. Go ahead, Andrew.
I already got the. I already got that we're running over time. Again, for those of you who know me the best, and for those people who I know report to me directly, but everybody's welcome to come into my office and watch me get on my soapbox when they come in. I think Steve Mann, I'm going to pick on Steve Mann, came in and didn't know what he was getting into one day. I think we had a good conversation. But at the end of the day, I told you what my reason to believe in, and it was the people, and you can't have talent. I call it the talent quite regularly. We just got through an iteration of a talent review process. Jim still has a little bit more to go. Sorry, Jim. But at the end of the day, you're not here without building the appropriate bench, the appropriate talent, and owning your own development plan at the end of the day. For those people that do work for me, I bear with them at times, but I always challenge them to have development plans themselves. I've shared my development plan with them, as I've shared with Jim. But for those of us that, and for everybody's at a different stage in their careers, and for some people it might not be the right fit at the right time, but if you want to develop yourself, if you want exposure to something, if you want to know about something, if you want a door open to somebody just to have a meet and greet, and sometimes that can be challenging or feel uncomfortable, but between Jim and myself and a couple other people I look at the room, we know somebody in every department at this company at this point, and can open any door that you guys would want to be open to. But your creativity and what you want exposure to, pushing yourselves, if you want into, positions of challenge or discomfort, whatever you want to call it, I think is up to you guys at the end of the day. The results that, for those of you who are newer to the organization, that the YEP team's attained over the years, it's always a work in process, but this is YEP sponsored here for all intents and purposes. But training, development, while it's not always easy, challenging to get after, is critical. And we're always looking for people who want to, Kathleen Kishman wants to go into IT next, she told me. So, oh, you're shaking your head no? There's a share. But at the end of the day, we have the people and the experience to open up those doors for you guys, but you have to be willing to come in and ask. And if you ever are in the neighborhood, don't hesitate to stop into my office or Jim's. I think, it can be lonely a little bit in leadership. Nobody ever comes in and says hi. But at the end of the day...
sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do. But at the end of the day, feel free to come in. This is a critical part of what makes us successful in this company and has made us successful.
And then number 7, which I think is the most important item on here, is maintain positivity. And we're a sales organization, and being positive is what you have to do if you're in sales. And I know we're account management also, but let's face it, we're in front of customers every single day, dealing with really difficult issues. I know all of you are dealing with really difficult issues every single day, and we're out trying to convince people to do business with Cardinal or to buy more from Cardinal. You got to be positive. And so I try and spend a lot of time just thinking about, okay, how am I showing up for work today? Am I smiling? I tell Andrew this all the time, the concept of shadow of a leader, that the people underneath you will look at you and to see how you're behaving, and then will set the tone for their day. There have been periods of time when I've been told I'm walking down the hall, with a scowl on my face, and people go home at night and they're like, all worried. They're like, oh my gosh, why is Jim scowling? And I'm thinking, I can't even go to the restroom without smiling. So if you see me walking and I'm scowling, remind me that I shouldn't be scowling in the hallway. But that is, so I think positivity is really important, because in the end, the best thing that you can do to prepare for a great future in FY19 is how you show up for work today and doing your very best today, because that's really all we have control over, right? There's things that we can control and there's things that we can't control. Andrew tells me that every single day, in your control and out of your control. The things that are out of our control, we try and understand them. Like I mentioned earlier, business cycles, what's going on in Washington, how this crazy, healthcare world is impacting us. I try to understand that, so hopefully I can shape strategy around that, but I can't control it. And so what I can control is how I, deal with those issues every day, and am I trying to address them in the most productive and positive way possible. So I would encourage everybody to, put a smile on, do your very best job of remaining positive, even when there's, very challenging things going on every single day. So maintaining positivity. So those are the 7 priorities for FY19. I am absolutely confident that we will do everything that's on here. And as we do them, we will be successful.
I agree.
We're going to take some questions?
I think questions are next, right? Okay, my other slide got cut. That's
Who wants
okay,
to ask
fine.
some questions?
I know there's some in the room. Michael Friedheim, Deuce 5.
So yeah, question. So
Wait for the
There you
mic.
go. Talk on the mic.
Wait for the mic, Michael.
Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Stand up, please.
Can you hear me in the back? Okay. So the question I have, last week we saw an announcement with Walgreens and Kroger, and kind of on the grocery side combining with pharmacy a little bit. Just wanted to see your guys' take on that, and is that, I see Walgreens making strategic partnerships all over the place. So just curious what you guys think about that. How does that change our world? Is that a game changer in the industry as well?
Interesting question. As you can imagine, I tell people every day when I come to work, I turn on my computer and I cringe. It's like, okay, who's buying who today? And what impact is this going to have on my morning? And so that particular morning when that announcement took place, I got no less than 75 different people coming into my office, calling me from Mike Kaufman all the way down. What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? So Andy did a good job. Immediately within minutes was on the phone with Kroger talking to them about their opinion on it. So the official point of view on that obviously is, hey, this is a grocery move. We're trying to figure out ways, omni-channel marketing, there's a lot more Walgreens stores out there than there are Kroger stores. Is the way we can partner around moving more groceries through the supply channel. And of course, the concern that we have is, well, is there a likelihood that if grocery works well, the pharmacy would be next, and Walgreens would take over their pharmacies, no different than CVS did with Target pharmacies. They're proclaiming no, we don't know. I mean, obviously they're not going to tell us if that's their strategy. We believe that getting back to what I just mentioned, our best course of action relative to this is to make sure that Kroger can operate their pharmacies as successfully and as efficiently as possible. And we are working on some really innovative and creative things with Kroger right now that will completely change the way they do their pharmacy operations today. So I feel very confident that we're going to continue to push through and get some of these things done with Kroger, which is going to be outstanding. And that's kind of an FY19 event if we can make this happen. But what that speaks to is what I talked about earlier. Mergers and acquisitions and creative partnerships are happening every single day in the marketplace. And we have to continue to be on top of that, understand it, and develop strategies around it. I mean, now you have CVS merging with Aetna, already owns a big PBM Caremark. You've got Walgreens. If you look at all of the different ABC and Walgreens and all the different vertical integrations and things they've done, it's a pretty interesting group that they're piecing together. Clearly, we have a partnership with CVS under Red Oak. So you're going to see these kinds of challenging times make for strange bed folks, and so I think you're going to see lots of different things that are going to be occurring out there. We're looking at them all the time ourselves, but the particular one with Kroger and Walgreens right now, are we concerned about it? We're certainly going to keep an eye on it and continue to talk to Kroger about what that means from a pharmacy perspective, and we're going to do everything in our power every single day to make sure that they don't want to do that because they can run their pharmacies profitably, and that's what Andy and team and Teresa and everybody are doing every day. So I'm not feeling horribly concerned about the Kroger situation, but it does wake you up when you see stuff like that. Great question.
So before the town hall, we had a question submitted that was, I've been wondering how the new tariffs and quote-unquote trade war will affect our industry since many products and ingredients are sourced globally. Does leadership anticipate this to cause a decrease in consumer demand, a reduction in profitability, both?
I know you told me you wanted me to answer that one, I remember.
Because I don't know the answer.
Right, what? No, that is a really good question. I think the answer that I would give for that, and I can get pretty narrowed down into pharmaceutical distribution, is for now, it's not impacted us, and it's not that we clearly know yet. The majority of impact that we're seeing today, there's a lot of uncertainty in, Washington, D.C. today, as Jim would say. I think he hinted at a lot of that earlier today. So we haven't seen direct impacts based on, new tariffs and the things that are going on there that are impacting our ability to buy. And what that could do is obviously impact, we have to raise prices, in the medical sector because we do manufacture overseas, things like that, depending on where the active ingredients are coming from. But additionally, there's a lot of uncertainty as, how rare it was for President Trump, love him or hate him, to roll back a price increase this past summer, through some pressure that he applied on particular manufacturers. So those are things that this industry has banked on for years that you wonder what would happen, as there's a lot of conversation going on right now about how we sell, and we won't get into the nitty gritty, but feel free to stop the office, of a gross to net phenomenon that's out there. So we really don't, we're still waiting to see what's going to come out of the industry at the end of the day and how this goes, but we have government relations teams, people who keep their eyes on it. Obviously we're an international company at this point, a global company. We manufacture overseas, we sell here in the States. We're very, if you've logged into the HR website today and see the amount of countries where we have employees, it's jaw-dropping. We're an international company, but for now it hasn't had a direct cause and, or impact into us, but it's definitely something, as Jim said, similar to the Kroger news, that we're keeping our eyes on as an organization, and we have dedicated groups of people that do that day in, day out.
Great. That's an awesome question.
That's a good question. They're all good questions.
Any
Mike, you had a good question
questions?
too. No. Somebody else can ask a question in the room. Nobody else can ask a question. Nobody has a question. Lonely in leadership. There was one more question online, I know. I don't know if we really want to ask. Are we asking it? Go ahead.
The other question that was submitted before was, will we all eventually be working for Optum?
Who asked that question? I'm going to
Jim.
buy you a drink afterwards. Optum. I would joke and say no, more likely CVS, but I think obviously that question is rooted in what we're just discussing, right? There's a lot. The big players are getting bigger. Optum continues to grow and become a very large company. We're partnered very significantly with Optum now. In terms of the most recent deal we put together with them, which is a 7-year deal. It actually goes beyond our deal with CVS. So it's not likely that we'll all be working for Optum someday, but it is interesting, the changing dynamics of the healthcare industry, where the big are getting bigger, and the partnerships are changing. So what does that mean? Well, here's my perspective on it. If you look at the recent, in that deck that I was reading to you earlier, there were 10 years ago about 60,000 retail pharmacies in this country. At that point in time, everybody said mail order was going to put retail out of business. Today, I just looked at the numbers. The retail pharmacies are not as prevalent as they were then, but there's just under 59,000 retail pharmacies today. So in 10 years, only 1,000 pharmacies, retail pharmacies, have went away, and mail order has actually dropped off some in terms of its popularity in the country. One of the reasons that mail order has fallen off in terms of popularity in the country is because CVS Caremark went to their maintenance choice program a few years back, which is a 90-day script at retail, because what they heard from a lot of payer groups that was, hey, our patients would really prefer to be able to go in and talk to a pharmacist and have a professional there, get counseling, be able to pick up their other medications, OTC stuff, when they're in the store. And the PBM industry responded to that by offering 90-day scripts, just like you can get through the mail. That took some of the, some of the pressure off of mail and kept the scripts into retail. And then when you break down retail, retail, the big chains are getting bigger. CVS is getting bigger. You're seeing them, growing, buying stuff all the time. Walgreens is getting bigger. You see them growing, buying stuff all the time. Walmart continues to be a really big player out there in the market. Rite Aid is struggling a little bit. They're about half the size they used to be. They're the number 3 player. The grocery chains are getting bigger. Kroger has gotten to be the biggest chain in the country, and Safeway Albertsons, former customer of ours, is still a pretty big player out there also. So the big are getting bigger, but the retail independents, which is kind of the core of Cardinal Health and really the core of wholesale distribution. If you think about wholesale distribution and how it's evolved over the last 30 years ago, when I started in this business, we didn't have any chain business. Chains didn't really exist. They were all regional chains. CVS then was People's Pharmacy, I think. you know, Eckerd's, but they were real small regional chains around the country. So the big chains didn't exist. Most of the retail scripts were flowing through more of a retail independent network. And yet today, you know, 25 years later, there's still just about as many retail independents as there were back then. And a lot of it is because retail independents tend to survive and exist in areas where the chains don't have great coverage. And so people that go to a retail independent are going there for a reason. Is because it's a small town, they know the people in the pharmacy. It's like any other small business. Small businesses tend to be entrepreneurial and they survive. And so, you know, we spend a lot of time, Steve Lawrence and his group spends a lot of time trying to make sure retail independents are successful and they can run their business. No different than I mentioned, you know, with Kroger. Our group is responsible for making sure Kroger is successful and can run their business. That's what we do as wholesalers. And so it's a good, I know there's probably a little humor based in that because we're all going through like pure misery right now and implementing the new Optum contract, and they have gotten so big. But the reality of it is, yes, the big are going to continue to get bigger. We'll figure out ways to partner with the big players, but it's incumbent upon all of us in our high-touch service model to make sure that we are securing the success of those that aren't the giant players, which would be the regional chains, the retail independents, small hospital systems. I mean, even the hospital, you know, systems. Think about IDN hospitals today compared to 20 years ago. They've all gotten big, and they're all merging also. So that's a good question. But we're not all going to be working for Optum. Any other questions? Come on.
No more
Do you have one? Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
What's your handicap? Did you see the 18th green right
I
now?
don't play golf per se. It's really high.
Wait, we
sure.
have
Oh,
we have,
well, Jim answered that one too. I have an opinion. Sure. Huh?
oh, you said the A word.
What's the matter with you?
Well,
We've
so
been saying that forever.
and but they actually are falling.
I'm aware.
Yeah,
But
and so, what's that? Repeat the question. Andy's question was, for the folks that are on the line, discuss a little bit about the market factors that are causing companies like Kmart, owned by Sears Holding Company, to essentially be going out of business. And it kind of goes into all of the big box stores out there that are struggling somewhat as a result of mail order, Amazon being the kind of the primary driver behind the online ordering experience that consumers want today. Kmart, so I have to be careful because I have a personal opinion on Kmart, but Kmart, for those of you that don't know, was our largest chain. It was our kind of go-to chain to describe how you should do business in the chain business. We had 1,400 Kmart stores like 10 or 12 years ago, 15 years ago, and they're down to just over 100 today, stores, and they continue to close their stores. It's an American icon, right? Just the brand of Kmart. And so it's very sad, and obviously, we've been with them from the very beginning, and over the last 20 years have watched this decline. But it's an example, it's a business example of not making the proper investments in your business to make it successful. It was bought several years back by a hedge fund operator, Eddie Lampert, who bought Sears Holding. They bought Kmart. They bought other things into it. And Eddie Lampert has not really managed it as a retailer. And so they're asset guys. They've been selling off assets. They've sold off Craftsman and Kenmore and Land's End and every brand that they own. And they continue to sell off Kmart stores. So to me, I think that one's a little bit different in that it's being impacted certainly by everything that's going on in the marketplace, but it's really more, nope, they didn't make any further investments in it. Think about Walmart. I mean, Kmart used to be bigger than Walmart and, used to, compete in that mass merchant market. Walmart's done exceptionally well, exceedingly well. And, and Amazon is even competing really well against, or Walmart's competing really well against Amazon right now with some of their, new online activities that they're doing. So those that can keep up with the technology, the innovation, and the way consumers want to buy today will be successful. Clearly, Amazon, you mentioned the Amazon world. We watch Amazon every day and try and figure out what are they doing. It would be very difficult for Amazon to do what a drug wholesaler does. We're a really tiny margin business. That's not their business. They don't want to be in a tiny margin business. And we're really good at supply chain and distribution of a highly regulated, complex medications and medical products. So it's not likely that Amazon's going to want to be in that business necessarily, but they definitely want to own that patient, and they definitely want to take business from our customers, including mail order, retail, and everyone else. And so that's
consumer products.
And consumer products. I mean, so what Amazon would like to do, the same thing that a CVS wants to do or a Walmart wants to do, they want you to come in, fill your script, and while you're waiting for the script, go and shop in the store, and so when you walk out with your market basket, you've got a whole bunch of stuff in there, not just your script. That's why they want pharmacy patients to come in. Well, Amazon wants the same thing. They want to be on the phone with you filling that script and say, hey, oh, by the way, we've got these specials, and they're popping things up on the screen. You can get this special, you can do that, and they want that consumer to buy things from them also. So the competition between the big box retail stores and the online Amazons of the world will continue. And it's going to be, I don't see that going away. Businesses will have to learn how to compete in that environment. You see it happening every day. Mm-hmm. Everything out there is, everything that's happening is a result of what's going on in the marketplace and the marketplace dynamics. So, and we're constantly trying to figure out how we would play in that market. So, from a sales guy's perspective, I'm thinking, hey, on the Amazon, I would sell them drugs. I mean, they're a big company. Probably, we'd figure it out. We'd figure out some strategy that would work. But that's a great question, and obviously that's a question that gets asked to Mike Kaufman from investors all the time, and gets asked to our competitors all the time, gets asked to the CEO of CVS and Kroger all the time. Everybody wants to know how Amazon's impacting their business. Great. All right, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I think you're done. Yeah. What's next, Teresa? I'm joking with Teresa. All right. So we probably could have practiced that better. That's okay. No, I think Teresa's got the clicker in the back, right? All right, so bear with me. We're probably going to have to go through a couple of these just so I can get my flow down. Who's ready to give out some awards? So this, we've done this in a variety of different fashion over the year, but I would say this is probably the second year that this is just the second year, right, that we've done it in this format where people are nominated by their peers, and Jim and I, go through. It's a very challenging selection process. How many nominees do we have this year? So for those of them, we had 189 people nominated across the entire team. So very good. So this year, there's going to be some people who probably are not in the room. They may win some awards, so we'll go with that as it gets there. I may not know where it's at, but we'll try to keep this lively. We decided to let Jim opt out of that one this year. So I guess I got to see the first flow. Yeah, come on up here. Click to the first one. Probably should have practiced this. So the first, you gonna go to the first slide? All right, so before that's what I was waiting on right there, go to. So the first thing that we wanted to do before we went is to take a moment while we just went through, I went through what we've accomplished over the previous year, as well as the new structures, to just take a quick moment to recognize the people that were the winners last year. For anybody in the room can stand up. That table. But a lot of people on the phone. Go to the first one.
For those of you who are new to the group, every month, everybody can nominate their peers for taking flight award. And so at the end of the month, all the nominations are put together and the directors all vote on a winner. And so these are the winners from last year. And at the end of that year, we actually do something special for all those taking flight winners. And so you'll see them here. They all have presents, and they're sitting with our leadership team. So we're really excited for them. You can be a winner next year.
Very good. I'm ready. Do you want me to take that from you? You're welcome. Sorry about that. Just make sure that doesn't fall. Sorry, guys, we're getting to the flow here. All right, go ahead. All right. So the first one is A Leader is Born. And I wanted to just take a quick opportunity I won't get too much into is, we nominate this individual who goes above and beyond expectations of, I have to say Cardinal Health, either by leading people, leading with behavior, aptitude every day. They foster positive relationships within our department, our enterprise, and throughout our customer organizations, pursuing Cardinal Health's values and continually striving to develop into a stronger leader and coach. And as I would always say, as I think about being a leader, it's not necessarily just people leaders at the end of the day. Anybody can be a leader through demonstrating these types of actions. So the first, did we do the nominee? I gotta see this. Let's go straight there. So the nominees, right? That's good. I'm not gonna read every nominee this year because that took some time last year. So congratulations to everybody that was nominated by your peers. You can see the amount of people that were nominated for Being a Leader is Born. Flow down, and I go to the winner, right? Okay. And then this year the winner is Emma Johnson. I think Emma's here. Congratulations. Thank you. Cool. Here you go, Emma. Thank you. Good? All right, we're going to get the flow down now. All right. All right, so the next one is the Above and Beyond Award. So the winner of this award is someone who with a specific incident went above and beyond to help a customer. I could relate that to helping the selling organization. A lot of nominees this year. Go on. 4 nominees this year. Maybe I should have remembered that one. Subjective a lot. At the end of the, we have Lauren, Lisa, Rylan, and Sheila, who is a dedicated resource out in Allspire. And this year's award winner for going above and beyond for us and our customers and internal teams is Lauren Kren. I can get him. Yeah. Next up is accountable. This person is accountable for high performance and to each other. And being accountable to me is definitely one of my favorite awards. Is we drive a high culture of accountability throughout this organization that is in this room today and online. I know we hold our surrounding departments heavily accountable to the standards of that not only come with just being in the healthcare industry, but ultimately at the end of the day to our peers, our associates, our employees, and within our communities as well. So I'm not going to make the same mistake again. So a lot of nominees this year, I can say. Everybody very deserving. You have it in your hand, or just leave them there. I'll get them. I think it'd be easier. So this year's winner is Pam Rader. Yeah, I'm going to use this. Radar. Oh, I'm going to make some mistakes. Congratulations, Pam. That won't be the last time. Oh boy, tenacious. So obviously this one's a big passion of mine that, through some efforts this year, I know that we're doing a lot of work, and I think of voice of the field and getting after being very tenacious in our customer commitments. And I hate to say, describing that we, are using the word tenacious in fulfilling our customer commitments, so sort of using the word inside the definition, but it's really getting after, at the end of the day, that spirit to take care of our customers, not at any cost necessarily, but ensuring that our customers are prioritized first. Our sales teams are prioritized first, our teams are provided. I mean, not everybody has the unique situation that we have in this room of either working directly with a customer, working directly with internal sales organizations that are working with customers. So that sense of urgency that brings in us, and I think we all could attest to that, and the ability of wanting to drive performance and that high expectation of standards through to our customers is critical for us. So, Teresa? So with no surprise to me on this one, the amount of people that were nominated for being tenacious to our customer commitments, which I would also extend out, like I said, to our internal teams that we support. And the winner this year is, in the room, I'm thinking, Aaron Hollenbacher. Is that working for you? Okay. Thanks, Aaron. Great work. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Well, it's not going to be Wendell. Innovative. This person is inventive and adaptable. So that's pretty brief, and we actually, I look at this one, and innovation could come from a lot of different places. And we just talked about Amazon. People think of Amazon Web Services. That's actually where a lot of their growth driver is coming from. But innovation every day can just be how we solve a problem, share a problem, demonstrate a best practice, get after a situation, and not getting in that habit of it's business as usual, but actually challenging that status quo of it's not business as usual anymore. We can't just say that. We actually have to practice that, as I encourage consistently. So innovative, quite a list of award nominees this year. And we actually have a split award this year. Jim and I, being as indecisive as we are, could not come to a conclusion on a winner. So decided to go into two directions. One person will be here, one person I know is remote. So let's see who we go with first. Yes, in the room, Corey Flath. And small shout out, Corey, you're now going to PMOD. We need all the innovation we can get to make our lives in less PMOD meetings. There you go, congratulations. And the other winner not here today, remote, Pam Tributino on the AMA team. If you're watching, Pam, congratulations. All right, you guys do it that way. All right. Enthusiastic. This team member brings a sense of optimism, enthusiasm, and competitive spirit to our work. And I would also tie in a little bit of positivity. I think you can't be an enthusiastic person or being optimistic or having a competitive spirit to work without being extremely positive. And as Jim said, that's his eighth principle, right? Eighth principle. That was number 7. Okay. And 8. So this year the nominees are, and congratulations to everybody. Tough one this year, and we went with new to the team, Cheryl Longworth. I love it. That's a great handshake, by the way. Fantastic. Inclusiveness. So this person is inclusive and works together with others in confidence and trust, which, we talk a lot about, obviously we've heard Mike talk a lot about diversity and inclusion, and I still think sometimes we struggle to define exactly what that means, and that could come in a lot of formats. But being inclusive, not only within our team, wanting to help other people's, or other people who might be challenging in a work issue or helping a customer, but bringing everybody, welcoming everybody, and really going out and around to make certain that people will feel welcomed onto the team. It's a great trait. A lot of nominees this year will be tested with the new organization, and I will look a lot to this winner this year to help lead a new culture of inclusiveness is Tiffany Cool. Don't be surprised. Well deserved. Genuine. This team member is genuine, open, direct, and respectful. Oh boy. I mean, genuine, here are the nominees at the end of the day, and I'm starting to laugh, and I think of it, and I think of I'm thinking of the winner too much probably than thinking about what it means to me, but I couldn't pick a better word than to describe this individual who's always there, always willing to step up, always willing to take on new responsibilities, always willing to fill in for other people when they're not there. Very open, very direct, and I'm joking, very, very respectful at the end of the day. Sue Livingston. Congratulations, Sue. Oh, sorry. No, it is not shocking. If Chris would have won, that would have been shocking. He's not even paying attention. He's not. Okay, next. Trusted. A team member that can be trusted to do the right thing. And I could say that for every single person in the room. Flesh up the nominees so I don't. Not surprisingly, there's a good amount of people that were nominated this year as trusted. You know, when I am looking at the winner again, and so I think about, you know, we've talked a lot about aggregation of our customers today, consolidation of our customers, not just within retail national markets or within mail order. You know, not so much, you know, you say aggregation, independents might be selling to chains, but in the hospital space, we see a lot of aggregation across big health systems. And we just saw Baylor Scott and White Memorial Hermann are going to merge, or what's happening with a variety of different mergers, acquisitions in the changing space. And to be trusted consistently, so I'm sort of leading the witness here to being at a customer site, honestly, so the person's not in the room today. But the winner is Tricia Reeves, who is our dedicated resource in the Midwest. Talk about going through change, and I could say that about any dedicated resource or anybody in the acute team of sitting at a customer site. I mean, to fight for the right things for Cardinal Health while supporting their customer can be a delicate balance. I see Jimmy in the back of the room, and you feel like you might have two bosses at the end of the day. Your customer, we all feel that way, but when you're sitting there, it's a unique pressure as well. So well earned by Tricia, who's not with us in the room today, being remote. Customer relationship excellence. This person gives superior service to their customers, and through their relationship is able to cultivate a partnership which leads to trust, loyalty, and new business opportunities. Here were the nominees. I'm certain that there's going to be quite a list of people up there that were nominated this year. And this year's winner is, I don't believe here today, Tracy Powers. So, Tracy, if she's online, I know I spoke to her not long ago, works on the strategic implementation team with Acute, which I high-leveled out earlier, leads big implementations. A lot of people in this room can do that for national too. The added complexity of working within the acute class of trade brings plenty of challenges with it, and at the end of the day does a great job bringing on new business as our acute partners win new system business throughout the country today. So congratulations, Tracy, if you're online. Superior support. A team member who, by supporting internal resources, demonstrates exemplary support to their customers. This person may support with ideas, customer service, analytically, or consistently exceeds expectations and execution. You can see quite a lengthy list again of nominees, which is why I had a good chance that one time and still backfired. A really lengthy list of nominees this year, and personally, I've had the opportunity over the last couple of weeks to attend talent review not only with Jim and our staff, but also with the independent sales force as well as the acute sales force, and was personally mentioned to me by a variety of different leaders the amount of support that this person brings and the superior support they have. And the winner is, although I'm gonna get it wrong, Alex Naraki. He knew it. He knew it. Was that close? We appreciate it. We're not taking photos. Okay. We can get a photo together. Thanks, buddy. Community Champion is the next award, and it's a person who not only advocates on behalf of the community or a charity, but also takes us a step further with their actions. And again, it's hard to read these and not, for me, we'll go to the nominees. Not here with us today, the winner is Twyla Alder, and for those of you, I'm sorry, yeah. For those of you who don't sit on who don't know, Twyla sits in the Florida area. She lives, correct? And the amount of involvement she'll get, and I think of her right now as a tropical storm / hurricane barrels down on that area, and the things she's probably doing to be prepared and be involved in the community, make sure people are, sending emails in a variety of ways to support the team, welcome new team members, challenge people in the acute class of trade, challenge leadership, sit with me at dinner when we were in San Diego and challenge me directly, which I found refreshing. Tyler, I think the world of, wish she could be here with us. I think the world of everybody though, but as I read them, I have a special spot there for Twyla and all she does in her community. I know she does a lot down there. All right, Rising Star. This award is given to a team member who is new to national markets and has already been identified as a high performer. Nominees are rather a long list of people again. And I would have to say that this individual, while just getting to know this individual, heard a lot of great things when a transition occurred and carries a pretty heavy burden in who she supports day in and day out. Betsy Jewell. Deal with Wendell. Over there. Did I have this right? Next. Lifeline Award. This award recognizes a person who goes above and beyond to support the entire team. The nominee is dependable, inclusive, always willing to help. Huh, really? I don't think we have nominees on this one, do we? No, not sure. Cindy Watkins. You don't help me.
Huh?
You don't help me. All right. So I think we're down to the last one. Most Valuable Player, the MVP Award. So it's the Team Member of the Year. Do we have nominees for that? Or no, we do. You want to put nominees up? That's fine. There's a typo there, the third one for sure. I wasn't allowed to nominate. It was a real nomination. I said to remove it, but they wouldn't. I think of, I think that's gonna be awkward now. Anyway, talking about myself. I think of this person, and when we got this, this individual has worked with us for a variety of years. Many people know this individual. The things that this person does to support us, support their customers, the amount of people that come to me all the time and tell me what great work this person does, how they support the customers, go outside their class of trade, never has boundaries to, just work here, I just do this. We'll look out across, a lot of us do this, look across the country, across class of trade, support customers. Definitely works in an area that doesn't get a ton of attention. It can be very challenging at times, as many of us in this team will know. It's excessively complex, excessively challenging. Just one of the greatest guys in the world, as kids meander in the back. Jack Rayco. I know Jack's not here. I hope he's online to see this. Jack is for those of you who don't know Jack, although I imagine a lot of people do, is a technology representative in the East Coast, lives in the Boston area, I would say, the greater New England area. He supports our acute class of trade. He's trained our national markets customers without having to be asked when it's not necessarily in our skill set to train on Order Express. He travels the entire Northeast quadrant, the East quadrant, will reach out to the Central and the West, is always leaned on in a variety of different ways. And while I couldn't be here today, as we were not coming in, I really wanted to give a special shout out and MVP award to Jack. Well-deserved for, I don't know how many years Jack's been with Cardinal, but quite a few. And congratulations to Jack. That's all of it. I think I have one last thing. Do we have a slide on this? All right, so the last thing is, we're about to transition to dinner, I think, right? Or a break and then dinner. Because I wanted to, for those of you in the room, I'm pretty certain that everybody is in the room here. For everybody whose name's up here, if they just stand up real quickly if they're not standing already. And these are the people that helped put together this event. They put together the agendas, the PowerPoint slides, They dealt with my lack of rehearsal skills. While this is a more abbreviated this year, I know how much effort and work and questions and going back and forth with Jim and I trying to get in our calendars can be. So thank you to everybody that helped put this together. I also, while they're probably not expecting it, wanted to thank you to the AV people, because I know that's not easy, to Bob and Vern in the back of the room. And thank them. And with that, I think that's it, and we're going to what? For those of you here. So we'll say goodbye to the people on the phone, I would believe, correct? 1 second. Oh, and there's 1 second. There's something I don't know about. What? Oh, okay, then I'm done, right? What? I don't see Debbie yet. I can't imagine we're giving her a special thing. Yeah, any questions? Andy? Chris? What? Oh, he's paying attention now. Talk about Kmart. Oh, boy. Everybody having a good time? Did you guys hear that we got second place in the dodgeball tournament this year? I was very proud. Who was on the dodgeball team this year? Yes. 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 It was not a close second place. We got annihilated in the finals. But it was the generics team that beat us, and hence that's why we struggle in generics in this company. They're too focused in on dodgeballs. I have no idea what I'm doing up here as Jessica. One more second. What? Well, that's going to be a stretch right there, Cindy. Oh, boy. Are we ready? Okay, I don't know what this is. Okay. I have no idea.
So, as you guys seen, there were a lot of nominees this year, and as we did last year for the individuals who didn't win, you're still going to get a certificate and a gift card. So Alex has those to pass out. Do you want them to come get? No. You're going to pass it out? Okay. He is going to pass them out, and then we actually have a surprise that's coming, so it's just going to take a second. If everybody can just be patient.
I don't know what it is. It's not my birthday. It's not. Maybe it is Debbie, because Debbie's here now. I don't think it's Debbie. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what. I don't know what's going on. What is happening? For who? Oh, we're gonna get drunk. Okay. All right. Nobody told me this. Yeah, this is right. I'm going to pass to Teresa.
Okay, so we wanted to celebrate at this event for our fiscal year 18 results. They were phenomenal, and I mean, we couldn't have done it without everybody in this room, and so we've ordered a champagne toast for everybody, so grab a glass, and we'll do a cheers to a fiscal year 19 as successful as the 18.
I'll do it. You don't want to do it? Heavy the burden. Heavy the burden. Lay on my shoulders. I was like, what? She was like, whatever. your boss. I already have some. I just could have rehearsed this. Could have rehearsed this. That was a rush. Man. What's going on? I had no idea. I thought you guys were going to embarrass me or something. I'm like, this is about me. You're embarrassing me. I'm freaked.
Good luck.
Are we ready? Does everybody have? Everybody not have? What? What? It looks like everybody has. One more. At least everybody's talking amongst themselves. Did you already slam yours down? Did you already drink? Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, right? More booze. It's like, what the heck is going on? It's awkward enough standing up there for 2 hours. Thanks, Debbie. Well, I don't know about that. Dodgeball was a great accomplishment. Nobody saw it coming except us. Yeah. Okay. Am I getting the yes on that? I like that coat. I had that coat. Are we ready, Alex? No? Jessica? What? We're missing Dan? No, Dan. We'll wait for you. Yeah, I definitely was not, thank you, not expecting this one. I definitely would have come up with something better. So the idea here, I guess, is, Teresa, you coming? Since we had this in the thing, well, we're not going to wait for everybody. We're going to everybody raise their glasses. Wait, oh. So as this is recognition or as we look back to a successful FY18, although I know we sit here in the second quarter, FY19, it was a tremendous FY18 for us. The people in this room, as well as the people that we support, helped bring in a great year for pharmaceutical distribution as a result, the company. So congratulations to that, and here's looking forward to a great FY19. It's the talent in this room that helps us achieve our goals at the end of the day. So cheers to everybody. Are there any other surprises? I think that's it, right?
Oh, nice. Nice. That's clever. It's like Animals. Does anybody remember Animals? The older people do. That's where you'd buy underwear and the top, your undershirt would match your underpants because they would have the same Animal on them. Yeah, they don't do that anymore. Okay. All right. People are still arriving. How about this location? As I'm walking out with Andy, I'm like it's the second week of August almost, and it's 90 degrees outside, and we're going to be looking over the 18th green of the golf course and expecting us to work. So But it is a beautiful venue, so thank you to the team that pulled this together. So welcome to the all hands meeting for, I guess this is for the fiscal year that just ended, fiscal year 18, and this is a celebration this afternoon and tonight. So I'm really, really excited about this. I know that we weren't able to get everybody. We've got the camera back here, and there's folks that are on the line. Hopefully that the AV is working correctly, and everybody out there can see us up here. But I'm excited to have everybody here to talk a little bit about FY18. It seems like that was a century ago, as we're now heading into the second quarter of FY19, and we'll talk a little bit later about some of the priorities for FY19. But before we do that, we want to talk about FY18 and the unbelievable performance that we had. And so we will get through that as we go through the day. But if you recall, if you've heard any of the town halls that Mike has had and some of Debbie's meetings, one of the things that we've been doing is what we call the reason to believe. And so I've been saving a reason to believe just for all of you. Debbie hasn't even heard it yet. So you guys got to tell me if you like it, because if you don't, I'm not going to tell her. But it was, and actually we got a meeting with Mike Kaufman tomorrow morning, so maybe I'll try it on him also. But so I've come up with a reason to believe that I wanted to go through with you. And the reason we're doing that, obviously, it's been an interesting year. We finished 2018 with fantastic financial results in pharmaceutical distribution all across the board, no matter what group you represent, from national accounts to regional accounts to hospitals to community health centers to state government, you name it, just about every one of our classes met or exceeded our budget. So we had a very good year in 2018. But it's one of those unique years where while that's happening, there's adjustments that are taking place in the business, right? And so it was a year where we saw some headcount reduction, and some long-term friends of ours that have been with the company for a long time left the company. And I know there's a lot of anxiety, and people are trying to figure out, well, what does that mean as we go into the future? And we're going to talk about that a little bit today. But I want to go through my reason to believe. Andrew has been waiting for this for 2 weeks. So I'm going to put this down. I'm going to read you something. So I'm going to ask you to think. Don't shout it out now until I'm through reading, or you'll mess up my reading. Here's what I want you to answer. Who wrote this, and in what year was this written? To our shareholders, against a backdrop of unprecedented change, our company has delivered another year of record sales, earnings, and earnings per share. More importantly, as an efficient provider of quality services to the healthcare delivery network, we are very well positioned to build on our record of continued growth. In the past 12 months, we have seen rapid change in our government, in our economic environment, and in our industry. There are clearly more changes to come. With America's network of healthcare delivery under the magnifying glass, we have had to work hard to adapt to a changing profitability equation. The push to control costs by the public and private sectors has been well underway for quite some time, and we have successfully managed expenses in our business to record lows. The demand for pharmaceuticals as a low-cost alternative to more intrusive or expensive treatments continues to grow. Price inflation, however, has moderated, but at the same time, we're managing inventory and other working assets more efficiently, and our cost of capital is less expensive. As the realignment of healthcare infrastructure progresses, our critical linkage with customers and manufacturing partners and our ability to deliver quality service and innovation to them are more important than ever. The industry which will emerge will be dominated by a handful of players that are leaner and larger in scale. We recognize that exceptional quality and value-added service distinguish our company in the marketplace, and we are investing in innovative distribution technologies information systems, and marketing programs to further strengthen the services we offer to our customers and vendor partners. Any guesses on who wrote that and what year? Okay, we have Bob Walter is correct. This is from an annual report of Cardinal Health, and the guess was 2003. That year is off. You're getting closer. 1993. 1993, 25 years ago this year. And so you hear Jeff Brandon was putting cement in a washing machine back then. If you guys have never heard that story, it's much better than this story. The reason I bring that up, people have heard me say, even when John had asked me to stand up at town halls and say, why do you believe things are going to be okay? And I always say, well, we go through what are called business cycles, and this is just another business cycle. I was here in 1993, and I remember this business cycle. What was happening in 1993? Can anybody remember what was happening in our country in 1993? Some of you weren't born in 1993. I understand that. And I know this seems like ancient history, but some of us were. There was something important that was happening. Who had just taken office in Washington? Bill Clinton. And who did Bill assign to tackle this issue issue of healthcare and the rising cost of healthcare in this country and the lack of access to quality healthcare? Hillary, right? And so there was in 1993 enacted the Clinton Healthcare Plan of 1993. The Clinton Healthcare Plan, known officially as the Health Security Act and unofficially nicknamed Hillary Care after First Lady Hillary Clinton, by its detractors, was a 1993 healthcare reform package proposed by the administration of Bill Clinton and closely associated with the chair of the task force devising the plan, First Lady of the United States, Hillary Rodham Clinton. The reason that's important is if you think 25 years later, we're still dealing with these issues, right? Not a lot's been solved in the last 25 years. We've had Democratic administrations, Republican administrations, back and forth. Not a lot has been resolved. Now we have Obamacare that we're working through, similar kind of concept. But what was important is when that first came out, and it was first enacted back in 1993, being in this industry, everybody was a little uneasy, just as we are right now, because it's like, what's going to happen, right? If price deflation, we were making money on inflation back then just like we are today. If inflation moderates, if it goes into a deflationary mode, how will we make money? What's this healthcare plan going to mean to us? And obviously, over that period of time, a lot's happened at Cardinal Health. We've had some fantastic runs where we had really good periods of success and growth, and we've had some times where we've been challenged a little bit more. So I'm going to talk a little bit about priorities. You probably have seen this slide, and if you haven't, this is a slide that Mike Kaufman is showing for FY19. And he's being very transparent here, and this is a slide that's been shown to the market, and saying, what are our priorities in FY19? I'm going to talk more specifically after Andrew talks a little later about what are our priorities in national markets and in the account management area and in the acute care area. But for now, what are Cardinal Health's FY19 priorities as put forth by Mike Kaufman? Number one, if you haven't heard Mike say this, Mike has said this very emphatically: return PD to growth, pharmaceutical distribution to growth. And the reason he says that is if we don't do that, nothing else really matters. If you ever look at our financial statements, pharmaceutical distribution represents 85% of our top line revenue or more, and well over half of our profitability. And so returning PD back to growth is important. Now, what does that mean? We've all asked Mike to define that, and he's defined it both for us and for the market as like 2 to 3% growth in earnings year over year. Right now, we're kind of in a bit of a declining mode. Still very profitable, and you always hear me say this. We're not like some of our customers, I won't mention their names, that are significantly going out of business and having a tough time making. We're a very profitable company. We're a very well-capitalized company. It's just that the street and the market and everybody expects us to grow our earnings year over year. That's the way publicly held companies are, and we're not doing that right now. Stabilize and grow Cordis, and transition patient recovery. So number 2 and 3 have been assigned to John Joachimon, our former fearless leader, and he's over there trying to figure out how to stabilize Cordis and transition patient recovery. Number 4 and 5 are things that should be evident to everybody in this room, because this is what everybody in here does day in and day out, and you do it better than anybody in the company. You guys are the model of number 4 and number 5, and these are priorities that Mike Kaufman wants us to be doing. So thank you for that, and that's prioritize resources and execute flawlessly. So these are the priorities that Mike has laid out for us. Obviously, number 1, returning PD to growth is a really big deal, and we've got to figure out how to do that. And we'll talk a little bit about what we can do in here to make that happen. But I want to go back for just a second to talk about the Hillary care, what was going on in the 90s, what's went on over the last 25 years, and where we are right now, just so that we can begin to think through this. So I pulled this off the internet, a very simple slide, but a very descriptive slide of business cycles. So when you hear me get up in meetings and say, well, we're just going through another cycle, this is what we're talking about. You go through periods of time, and this is for the whole country, the GDP and time. This really would be Cardinal Health earnings over time if it were being done specifically for us. But basically what happens in businesses is that you have periods of expansion. No business ever expands forever, right? It'd be impossible. We used to talk about that back in the 90s when we were a couple billion-dollar company. It's a lot easier to grow a couple billion-dollar companies 10% than it is to grow $130 billion 10%. If you try and grow a $130 billion company 10%, that's $13 billion. That puts you in the Fortune 500 with just your growth. And so it's really hard to do that. And so you go through periods of expansion. Eventually, you hit a peak. And different things cause that peak to happen. Competition comes into the marketplace. In the case that we're dealing with right now, I would say there's probably 3 forces that are impacting us. We have the healthcare situation that's going on in Washington today, where there's a target on price inflation, where the Trump administration is saying drugs are too expensive, we're going to try and figure out a way to reduce those prices, and they're putting pressure on the pharmaceutical manufacturers, and pharmaceutical manufacturers right now are moderating price increases. We make money from inflation. And so this is the same issue that we were faced with 25 years ago during Hillary care. Washington puts pressure on manufacturers, price inflation becomes a little bit more difficult for us. Mergers and acquisitions. Do you remember what that thing said back in 1993? There will emerge a group of leaner and larger players in the market. That's been going on for 25 years. It's, I think, actually getting to the point where it's true now. I mean, CVS is buying everybody, Walgreens is buying everybody, Optum's buying everybody, Walmart's buying everybody, and so the players are getting bigger. The good news is many of those are our customers, right? And so we continue to do well with them. So different things occur that cause a peak to happen, and then you go through a period of contraction. And if you would pull out Cardinal stock reports, you'd see this over the last 25 years, right? You'd see periods of time when it went up, periods of time when it went down, periods of time when it went up, and that's usually following directly expansion, peak, contraction, and the trough. So if you're like me, you're asking the question, well, are we at the trough? Are we there? Have we hit the trough? I don't know if we have hit the trough or not in this business contraction that we're going on. I'm going to share with you a couple of things that I believe suggest that we have at least gotten close to the trough and potentially are in a position where we can start to go into another period of expansion. But when we go through periods of contraction, not just Cardinal Health, but business in general, if you read the Wall Street Journal, you will see during business of contraction, what companies typically do is become leaner. They become leaner. They manage expenses because it's really difficult during this period of time for companies to grow their earnings because you're contracting and you've got all these forces working against you, but you can control your expenses, so you become very cost conscious, which is what you're seeing us doing right now. So let me just share a couple of statistics with you, and then I'm going to turn it on. And these are things that give me hope. that maybe we are getting closer to the trough and ready to move into a period of expansion. And this comes from formerly IMS, they're called IVIQ or something now, and they're kind of the industry leader in providing data to the marketplace. But this just came from the NACDS TSE, which was just a couple of weeks ago. And I'm just going to read you a couple of headlines. Total U.S. market dollar sales of pharmaceuticals, the growth is rebounding following the Hep C boom in 2015 and 2014 and 15. So in 14, pharmaceuticals grew 14.2%, 15, 12.2%, 16, 4.6%, and in 17, 1.5%. So you see a steady decline in the growth of pharmaceuticals. Obviously, that impacts our ability to grow our sales if the pharmaceutical growth in the market is going down. However, for the 6 months ended June, which this goes through, we're back up to a 5.3% growth rate. So you've seen it come down, kind of the same thing here. So the growth of pharmaceuticals in the market in general is beginning back up. That, to me, is an indication that things potentially are turning around. This one, let's see here. On average, manufacturers, that's the wrong one. If I could get, let's do that one. Specialty accounts for 15% of the dollars year to date, 1.2% of the script volume in the retail channel. Specialty is one of our biggest channels, and it continues to grow. Specialty growth is outpacing traditional growth, and now has 44.5% of the share of total non-discounted spend in the most recent 12 months. We have a lot of specialty volume in our company, whether it be hospitals, which a good portion of their volume is specialty, whether it be a lot of our retailers, whether it be Optum. So specialty is growing. We have a lot of specialty growth. So these are just a couple of the things that I see out in the marketplace, which give me hope that maybe, wait a minute, this is another one. This is a good one. Here. Nephron generic price auditor finds total deflation improved to minus 5%, so still deflation. We need to, kind of figure out how that's going to go the other way. From 7.5% in June of 18 and minus 13% in July of 17. So the reality of it is there are indicators in the marketplace that maybe we're heading back up into an expansion mode again. So wanted to share that with you. I do believe that this is a business cycle that we're going through. I do believe that we are going to come through the trough and start back up the expansion period again. And all that being said, we had a great year last year. We are on target to hit our financial objectives for this year. So when you can tell a story like this, that things are actually looking like they could turn around in our favor, and we're not doing poorly, we're actually doing really, really well, it's a pretty good story. So, Andrew, that's my reason to believe as to why I would believe this. So I'm going to turn it over to Andrew. We'll talk a little bit more about FY19 priorities here in a little bit.
Am I on yet? Okay. I waited 2 weeks for that reason, Jim. Wow.
Awesome. Let me hear yours.
What is my reason to believe? Every day is another day closer to Chris Wendell retiring. The new dress code with denims. Oh, Ashley's shaking her head at me. Okay, let me make sure I got this right. In all actuality, I just want to get my bearings. I mean, I don't think everybody would be surprised. Those people who know me the longest on my reason to believe it's the people in this room. For those of you who have worked for me for the last few years, to those of you who are new to my organization, for some of you who unfortunately have probably known me for like 15 years, I look at Aaron Neflin from when we sat across cubes at the atrium. We've sold that building. I mean, that's years ago. I probably, to my own fault, care about the people in this room and what you guys represent every day for our customers to a point, as I said, to a point of a flaw. But I'll never change that for you guys. We're here every day fighting for our customers, fighting for patients, fighting for people in the field. And why do I believe? I believe because of the people in this room and the people across the organization. So That's an easy one for me. Kathleen, as I look back at you, how many people are online? Do we know, roughly? 70, so and there's roughly probably 70 people here, so like 140 people. So I'm gonna jump you guys through, so I sort of asked the team that put this meeting together today, what would people like to hear about? And I think what was on most people's mind is we have an aggregation of quite a few people in new departments that have been combined under the newly formed Pharmaceutical Distribution, Account Management, and Sales Operations Organization. So I thought I'd take some time to review and make some high-level commentary on not only what the departments are, so bear with me, it's a bit of an eye chart, and then also talk a little bit about why we brought these organizations together. So with that, I'm going to start with, and I'm going to put everybody outside their comfort zone. With the sales operations, onboarding, and sales analytics team, I know we can't do this for the people on the phone, but if you are in the room and work for this department, look at Aaron, stand up. All right, well, welcome to the team. First off, let's get a little round. Everybody gonna get this? So to give it a little bit of highlight, and there's, you'll see this flow here, there's highlights of what the team accomplished, and everybody put together a couple of talking points for me that I probably won't read through that. This is a group of people that, as you look at it, do a variety of different topics, so I'm gonna make sure I don't miss anything, but they're primarily, some of the identity is going to be onboarding retail independent and acute care accounts. Day in and day out, as well as 340B. I mean, Steve, man, how many do we put on in a day on average at this point, or a week? What's your metric?
We need to be cranking out 105 accounts a week.
105 new accounts a week. And for those of you who have ever done that, it's not the most streamlined process necessarily with all of the bells and whistles. That's quite a complex area. You can see his team that's represented there, as well as Sean Ferguson is in the room as the manager over non-340B implementations of accounts. And it would be lost without calling out Tracy and Amy. I don't think either one of them are in the room, is that correct? They're on the phone. That do more large-scale implementations in the acute space specifically. Don't want to leave out, Molly, she's probably on the phone as well, and she does analytics or reporting for the retail independent class of trade. Never can be dull when Steve Lawrence asks for something, right, Aaron? Also, the sister of Todd Beckman, is that correct? Yes. Who knows who that is? Some Ohio State fans here. There you go. And newly to the team, because they keep throwing things underneath. Aaron and I got to spend quite a bit of time in Queens recently with the Kinray integration. As some people know, they sort of relooked at that structure. And Karen is not new to the organization, but new to sales operations, being promoted from IT. Aaron, we had the opportunity to bring her as the manager. I've known Roseanne and Leanne forever, and they support Tommy Palizza and his selling organization with Zach Fritz and crowd out there. So welcome to the new onboarding and sales analytics team. I'm not gonna need this. I'm gonna put this down, Jim. Is that okay, Jim? All right. And what would a sales team be without getting paid at the end of the day? Lots of fun in this territory. So if you are on the compensation team, I know I saw Laura and Dan. I don't know if anybody else is here. Don't want to embarrass you. Laura, Dan, I know I saw you guys. There's Dan. There's Laura right in front of me. I'm sorry. There's Laura, Dan. Stand up, stand up. If anybody else is, welcome to the team. Just real quickly, on these guys, they highlighted out very modestly that they moved from quarterly compensation to monthly compensation. I can say as an ex-sales associate to get money in my bank account. Could have done that 5 years ago, Laura, by the way. That would have been better for me. But they oversee, and I'm going to miss some things, but I'm going to do my best off memory. They oversee the independent sales force compensation plans and scorecarding for all of this, the acute sales force compensation plans and scorecarding, the community health centers who we support in this room's compensation and scorecarding, the solution business, MTM outcomes out in Iowa, Kinray now, although I know that there's some questions out there as we slowly try to integrate that one, right, Dan? Never a dull moment for questions on the sales plan coming to this small group of people who do yeoman's work and have for many, many years in designing effective compensation plans, but what I'm most proud of and can attest to as an end user of their programs, executed very well compensation plans for the sales force at the day. Firm but fair. Anything I'm missing there in terms of what else you guys run? Did I cover it all pretty well? No, well, welcome to the team. Oh boy. There she is. Teresa Ionitis and team in the Contracting Center of Excellence, a team that used to report through this organization years ago, and now, as Jim says, they keep coming back. Right, Jim? We're not sure why. So anybody on this team, please stand up. And I'm going to ask you to stay standing. Welcome back, Aaron. And it's not fair to just single out certain efforts, but I would really say, and again, a team that's undersold their highlights. I mean, new contracting tool, Aptis. I got the pleasure of taking on this responsibility with about a month left to go, and you know, I just kept saying nice things to Teresa, and she got through it, and I think we're successfully, for all intents and purposes, integrated. Yeah, they feel a little more confident. Yes! Come on, that's a huge accomplishment. I mean, that standardizes, or you guys can sit down. I won't make you stand all day. I'm sorry. I mean, it did mess up PVA Pari, as I saw this weekend, but we'll be okay with that. I mean, I'm really proud of this organization. I've known Teresa for years. Teresa, what am I? Exhausting. I'm exhausting. That's what she told me. Now I said, now you work for me. You just wait. At the end of the day, that was a monstrous integration into that system. They handled it with just the utmost class that I could imagine, not to go without a lot of stressful moments through that, and it was done pretty much flawlessly at the end of the day. So very proud of this team. Not to lose sight on the people who actually work on RFPs for us at the end of the day. You know, and they do that across national markets, alternate care, you know, if it's large enough, independent, any of the requests for proposals that we get. Might have a new one coming their way not too far from now, potentially. That's interesting. And the team that also supports down in Houston, if I have that correct, the solutions business. So welcome to the team, or back to the team, I guess, right? Sales automation and WindWatcher. How many people are here today, I see that work in the WindWatcher department? You can stand up. I'm not trying to embarrass you. Well, welcome to the team. I want to welcome you guys as well. So for those of you who don't know Steve, he lives down in the Texas area and is more than likely online. And you know, they have a mobile application, which again was, you know, again, I wish I would have had that when I was in the field, but that's fantastic. The new AAP calculator, so AAP is the largest retail independent buying group, for those of you who don't know, for Steve Lawrence's class of trade, ton of generics, ton of sales, and how the new deal compares to the older deal, as well as how they can get more generics, which is what a lot of our profitability is about, is what this team works on. Salesforce automation, from pipeline management to market territory size, to sales compensation, to compensation exceptions, to a variety of other things run. I'm way oversimplifying this tool, not to mention probably being, well, a lot of us are, but I can say these guys really have been the PMOD 2's best friends over the last couple of months as we look towards Salesforce.com. And the good news is, what I didn't know is Dan Anello is married to Lisa Regret, which I did not know, so nothing like having leverage over the PMOD team now. Just joking, Dan, who's not here. But that one was an interesting, that caught me off guard the other day. So welcome to you guys. All right, now to some of the older crowd. And I'm going to make everybody stand up because they don't know you guys either, just because you're not new. So Angie Bechtel and team. Don't be shy. Oh, vote. And you guys can sit back down. I'm sorry, I don't want to make sure everybody knows who you guys are. So Angie, Megan, Ryan, and their teams, well, Ryan's team is much more remote than Megan's team, has gone through, and you can read the amount of change they've just been in this year. I'm actually going to call out one special point. Actually, one of the things that I'll come to in a little bit is the sharing of talent across these two organizations, I think, is a benefit. And Andrea, I'm not going to single you out and make you stand up one by one, and I can't see it, but Andrea, oh, there she is in the back, just came from the COE over to this department. So there's a first step of one person that she's waving in the back, coming across. But this team has been through a lot of change over the last 3 years under Angie's leadership, and Ryan's leadership as well. I think of, bouncing all over the place here. I think of some of the things Ryan's team's accomplished from, the CVS GLC process from days and days to minutes is just fantastic, as well as the day in, day out activities of ensuring our accounts are set up, ensuring that they are set up correctly, they're audited appropriately, being that front line of entry, transitioning into a pod structure, which other classes of trade are now looking at to see if they can emulate, is a fantastic testament to the things that they've done and leaned out. And as Jim sort of said, as we get lean and mean, Jim always says, a testament to figuring out how to do things better with less resources and higher quality at the end of the day, which is sometimes very overlooked in this organization. So thank you for staying, Megan. Oh, brother. All right. The National Markets Acute team, who most of the people in the field up here, except for some of the leadership groups, are Jessica, Jen's teams, Kathleen in the room. Stand, please. Sorry, I'm not going to have to say stand every time. Jessica's way in the back. There's Kathleen. No Eric today. Well, thank you, guys. So, you guys just got to, for those of you who attended the huddle yesterday, I think they did a very nice job for what I was in the room for, being able to show what the value that they provide to the, Brian Ellis's organization, who couldn't be here today. I don't think he's not come, has he? Okay. Brian and Bill's organization. And this is a group of people that handle the, acute class of trade. I mean, what are they at now? 25 billion-ish or something like that. Between the shared resources under Kathleen's leadership, the split dedicated resources, management under Eric and Emily in the field, who's not here today, across the nation, and Jen leading the CCG resources, as well as the Mayo/Captus resources, as well as some unique relationships within where we don't necessarily have somebody to represent the account because it's a national account, so that's why it fits into our world. They take care of Brian Ellis's people day in and day out. Tough conversations going on in that class of trade through the organizational structural changes that have been made over at this point, about a year and a half ago, and continue to support that group of people. So thank you to them. Vita, of course, couldn't be here today, but who is here on the account management for alternate care and community health centers? Sarah's in the back, Aaron's over there, Pam's here today, Lisa's on vacation. Thank you for saying, yeah, thanks, Chris. So, Lisa couldn't be here today. Pam is here. Of course, Vita, as you all know, is doing great, by the way. On leave, won't be here for us this year. But what a year I think that she's been through to see how far she's come health-wise, which is the most important thing, guys. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. To have Lisa in a structure today, it looks like a little bit outdated slide. Apologies, Nick. At the end of the day, Lisa leads the alternate care team, supports Brad Cochran's organization for the people in the field. These are large nationals in the alternate care or closed-door pharmacy space, for those of you who don't know, which is a growing market class of trade with us, which is very, in my mind, is very, very similar to the acute class of trade. I think a model for how they should structure. And of course, the CHC team, which has been through a variety of different changes this year, with the sales team running under the leadership of Brad Cochran, but Angela Perry ultimately at the end of the day. While they're not represented from a selling perspective in this room here today, the account management organization led by Pam, which I know there's a laundry list of things down the right-hand side. I mean, that changeover did not come without risk, and not only did Angela Perry, but Pam lead that and lead the teams through with style, dignity, class, keep the customer satisfied, and take it to new heights. So great job and awesome work by that team in FY18. I don't think Jay's here because he gets to work on Optum. Jay, did you make it yet? No. Anybody from the mail order team even here? Lisa is. Anthony is. Molly is. So Jay's team leads the mail order space, which of course everybody thinks of them for the most part as Optum, but is I think the team that could stand up and tell you there's many more customers than just Optum, regardless of who they buy. They haven't bought them all yet, right? But at the end of the day, very complex, very challenging class of trade. Jay is currently working on the integration of the Genoa business, which we have, and trying to get that turned over in a, him and Chris working on turning that over in what we hope would be 30 days and turned out to be which this team always rises to the occasion. They got 5 days, so, you know, but they're back hard at the office working to see that integration over. I'm almost out of slides here. Lastly, although it's an aggregation, is the retail, national, and regional chains led by Teresa, Susan, who's not here, and Ashley. I know Ashley is here. Can't miss Ashley. If we work on this team. Hey. Betsy in the back. So this is traditional, you know, retail. I think last year was a landmark year for this group across, you know, and really was a lot of the tailwinds behind the success back in FY18. If you look at the onboarding of Ahold, Giant Eagle, new business, so we usually just gloss right over a Titanic customer called Target that we brought on. The operations team to have centralized CSAUS is something that I think we've been talking about for Jim way before me, but I mean, God bless, you've probably been hearing that for how many years? 25 of them. You know, from even still having the ability during some tough market conditions with customer consolidation, I look at, you know, what Mike's done with the leader program through Kmart, and that's a rather profitable thing for us. And even as Fred's looks to be getting sort of gobbled up right now, at the end of the day, they're still our customer, and we still treat them with the high-touch service model that differentiates us in the marketplace, excuse me. I think that's it. All right, so before I do that, hold on. I'm going to come back. As I was going through this here today, I also wanted to say, while they don't, you know, report up through the account management or sales operations organizations, there are 2 other groups in the room that I thought that we should recognize and make sure everybody knows. So I'm looking at the state government sales team and the state government support team. So I'm going to ask the state government team to stand up. There's Holly in the back. So Wendy isn't here with us today. For those of you, and I know there's no visual here for this, but I didn't want to lose sight on the state government team, where I'm not that close to it and probably couldn't do justice of everything you guys accomplished this year, because as you can see, I've been busy. But at the end of the day, very large customer, you know, mostly MCAP, individual state governments, very profitable customer base, highly complex, and definitely making headwinds and getting back some of the business that I know they want to get back. You know, I consistently hear from Wendy on Monday mornings when we speak about the good things they have going on in their pipeline and their never-ending tireless chase after the state of California, which Alex laughs over there. And Ohio. Jim wants Ohio back too. He's getting tired of that one. And then there's one last group that I don't think that this would be possible without, and I want to thank, and it is the actual, and I'm going to tell them to stand up despite being embarrassed probably. The sales team at the end of the day. That's Jim. And Jim Combs in the back. Andy, Chris, and Jim, and I guess Craig, is he still on vacation? Yeah, so Craig Corwin, who's not here. So, you know, for the people that report up through Jim's structure, you know, we wouldn't be here at the end of the day without obviously having customers that we have contracts with that will buy from us across a lot of those. And I would say, while not here, and, you know, for those of you who work a lot with me, I spend a ton of time with Steve. This is like miniature Steve's home away from home right here, so, and Brian's, to be honest. I spent a lot of time with Bill Hayden and Steve Lawrence and those selling organizations while not here and formally represented. They couldn't be successful without what everybody in this room does all day, and we couldn't be successful without what they do all day in the field, working with the customers, selling new business, keeping the business that we have, which, as we all know, renewing customers is the number one thing for this team to get done, because you don't want to lose the business that you ultimately have at the end of the day. It's your most strategic customers. How'd I do on time, Ashley? All right. I think we're together now, Jim, correct? Come on up, Jim.
Am I mic'd?
You're mic'd back up.
So I would also like to thank Andrew. Can we give Andrew a round of applause? I am very blessed and fortunate to have a very unique structure within Cardinal Health, in that virtually all of my management responsibility I have given to and delegated to Andrew. And so, and you know, it's like I tell Andrew and I tell Debbie, and I used to tell John, you know, what I love to do is sell. You know, I love working on. As Andrew says, you can always tell when I'm, you know, working on a big deal because I'm in a good mood. So when I'm really in the heat of negotiating a big deal or working on a big customer situation, that's where I thrive. And so Andrew's done a great job of stepping in and making sure that everything runs really well, so I appreciate that. But one of the things that we wanted to talk about, and this list may look familiar to you. And so I know I see Ashley shaking her head, yes. You've heard Mike and Jorge talk a lot this year about it's not business as usual. A lot of that relates to what I talked about earlier, in that there's a lot of things going on in the marketplace right now, and it's challenging us, and we're trying to figure out some solutions to these things. So it's not business as usual. But the list that we have up here is very similar in concept to the list that Mike has put out there that he feels is important for Cardinal Health right now in an environment where it's not business as usual. The interesting thing about this list is it was put together by many people that are in this room 3 years ago. And it's a list that we spent a lot of time focused on back in FY17 when we were trying to figure out, what were we going to do to really set national markets apart and to help Cardinal Health going forward. Just like Mike uses speed, grit, lost in the team as his three, things that he focuses on every year, and he's been talking about those for 10 years. I felt that I wanted to be consistent with these things because I can't think of anything else I'd want to take off this list and put on this list as we think about priorities for FY19. So if you think about what we need to do in order to get back, into that period of going up the mountain, we need to make sure that we hit our numbers. And so the number one item that I always have on my list, and I've always had on my list, is FY19 financials. As I mentioned earlier, right now, 1 quarter in, we've still had 3 quarters, so heavy lifting to do yet. But 1 quarter in, they're on target. We want to exceed them if possible.